Imagine living a life where no external force can shake your inner peace, where no matter what happens around you, inside, you remain calm, focused, and unshakably content. A life where happiness isn't something fleeting, not a distant goal you chase, but a deep well of contentment that you can draw from every day, in any circumstance. This isn't some fantasy, and it isn't beyond your reach. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, philosopher, and Stoic, lived this life. He endured challenges, loss, and pressures unimaginable to most of us. Yet he found the key to unshakable happiness. And so can you. In today's chaotic, fast-paced, and noisy world, Marcus Aurelius's secret to happiness is more relevant than ever. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll uncover his most powerful insights on happiness. And, more importantly, you'll know exactly how to implement them in your own life. These teachings are timeless, and if applied, they could fundamentally change how you see the world, and more importantly, how you experience happiness. Marcus Aurelius's unstoppable legacy. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a Roman emperor ruling one of the most powerful empires in history. He was a thinker, a philosopher, a man who grappled with the same questions we wrestle with today. How can we find true happiness? How do we live a good life when life seems so chaotic? He faced wars, betrayal, loss, and pressures beyond what we can imagine. Yet, in the midst of it all, he found peace and fulfillment. But here's the fascinating part. Marcus Aurelius didn't stumble upon happiness. He didn't find it by accident, nor did he believe that happiness was something you could just attain by achieving worldly success or material wealth. He built it deliberately through a disciplined way of thinking and living, day by day, thought by thought. In his private journal, now known as Meditations, Marcus left behind a personal blueprint for a life of unwavering contentment and inner strength. These writings were never meant for the world. They were for him alone, an honest, raw record of his thoughts and reflections. And yet, within these intimate writings, we find profound wisdom on how to live a life free from the roller coaster of external chaos. What makes Marcus Aurelius so powerful is that he didn't just talk about these ideas, he lived them. His life is living proof that true power doesn't come from ruling others. It comes from mastering yourself. And that's something each of us can start doing today. Why are we struggling to find happiness? Fast forward to our present day. We are living in the most technologically advanced, globally connected time in human history. We have more resources, more opportunities, and more comforts than any generation before us. Yet, despite all these advancements, we are more anxious, more stressed, and more dissatisfied than ever before. Think about it. Why are we struggling to find happiness when, on paper, we should have everything we need? The modern dilemma is rooted in something Marcus Aurelius understood centuries ago: our constant chase after external things to bring us happiness. We chase success, wealth, relationships, recognition, believing that once we achieve these, we'll finally be happy. But what happens when you get that promotion, buy that dream house, or fall in love? It feels good for a moment, sure, but then the restlessness creeps back in. You're left wondering, is this all there is? Psychologists have a term for this cycle: hedonic adaptation. No matter what we achieve, acquire, or experience, we quickly return to the same level of happiness. It's like a treadmill, where no matter how hard you run, you never move forward. Marcus Aurelius saw this illusion for what it was, centuries before modern science confirmed it. He knew that real happiness wasn't in chasing what's outside of us, but in transforming what's inside us. It's time to stop running. Step off the treadmill and take control of your own peace and fulfillment. And the best part? You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to wait for anything outside of you to change. You can start this journey to unshakable happiness right now, right where you are. Lesson 1. Radical acceptance. Embrace life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius's first and perhaps most powerful lesson is radical acceptance. He wrote, "Everything that happens, happens as it should. If you look closely, you will find this to be true." This teaching strikes at the very heart of our modern struggle. So much of our stress, frustration, and pain comes from one simple thing: resisting reality. We spend so much energy wishing things were different, wishing we didn't have to face that challenge, wishing we didn't have to endure that loss. But Marcus teaches us that freedom and peace come the moment we stop fighting what is and start embracing it. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine you lose your job. It's devastating at first. Your mind is flooded with thoughts. Why did this happen to me? This is unfair. How will I survive? But if you resist reality, if you continue to fight the fact that the job is gone, you only prolong your suffering. On the other hand, if you can take a step back, breathe, and say, "This is happening. I can't change the fact that it happened, but I can change how I respond," something extraordinary happens. You free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You take back control. Marcus's own trials. Marcus Aurelius faced countless personal challenges, but one of the greatest was the loss of his children. Out of his 14 children, only a few survived into adulthood. He could have despaired. He could have cursed fate. But instead, he chose to accept what he could not control. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you." In other words, he didn't waste time fighting reality. Instead, he embraced life's challenges, not because they were easy, but because they were inevitable. This is a deep and liberating truth. When we learn to accept what we cannot control, we free ourselves from the chains of frustration, anxiety, and suffering. Now, I'm not saying acceptance means giving up or passively resigning yourself to bad situations. Far from it. Acceptance is about acknowledging reality as it is, so you can focus your energy on what you can change: your mindset, your actions, your response. How to practice radical acceptance. Here's the challenge I'm giving you. The next time life throws something difficult your way, whether it's a big life event or just a minor irritation, take a breath, pause, and say to yourself, "This is happening for me, not to me." Accept the moment fully. When you do that, you'll find a strength inside you that nothing external can touch. Epictetus and the slave's freedom. To really understand the power of acceptance, let's look at another Stoic philosopher, Epictetus. He was born a slave, yet he became one of the most influential philosophers of all time. Epictetus's life was filled with suffering, yet he remained free, not physically but mentally. He understood that while his body could be enslaved, his mind was free to accept or reject the circumstances around him. And in that freedom, he found a profound inner peace. This is the kind of radical acceptance that Marcus Aurelius speaks of, a freedom that comes not from controlling external events, but from controlling your internal response. If you are finding this content useful and inspiring, would you do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe? Lesson 2. Mastering the present. Happiness is here and now. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote. It's simple advice, but it holds the key to one of life's most profound truths. Most of us spend our lives in one of two places: the past, replaying regrets, or the future, worrying about what's to come. And both of these mental states steal your happiness. Modern research even backs this up. Studies show that when your mind wanders, whether into past memories or future anxieties, it leads to stress, unhappiness, and even a decline in physical health. Marcus knew this long before science confirmed it. So where does happiness live? It's not in the past, which is gone. It's not in the future, which is uncertain. Happiness lives only in the present moment, in the here and now. The gift of the present moment. Think about a time when you were fully absorbed in what you were doing. Maybe it was during a deep conversation, while working on a creative project, or even while exercising. In those moments, you weren't thinking about the past or the future. You were just being. And those moments are when you feel most alive. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As emperor, his days were filled with meetings, decisions, and constant demands for his attention. But Marcus made it a habit to carve out moments of stillness, where he could quiet his mind and focus entirely on the present. In these moments, he wasn't thinking about the battles to be fought or the political maneuvering of the court. He was simply being. These moments allowed him to return to the chaos of his responsibilities with renewed focus and strength. The importance of small moments. In our modern world, it's easy to think that happiness is waiting for us at the next big milestone, a promotion, a vacation, a significant life event. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us that happiness is not something we need to delay. It's something we can access in even the smallest moments of everyday life. Imagine a typical day: waking up, going through your morning routine, heading to work. These moments might seem mundane, even boring. But if you can train your mind to be fully present during these times, you'll discover a sense of peace and contentment that transcends the usual stress of daily life. In fact, the Stoics believed that life is made up of small moments, and it's in how we approach these moments that determines the quality of our lives. Every breath, every action, every conversation is an opportunity to practice mindfulness, to be fully present, and to cultivate happiness. The power of small moments. Consider this. Every single moment of your life is an opportunity to practice presence. When you drink your morning coffee or tea, instead of rushing through it, take a moment to feel the warmth of the cup, smell the aroma, and truly savor each sip. When you're walking to your car, feel the ground beneath your feet. Listen to the sounds around you. These might seem like small, insignificant moments, but these are the building blocks of life. If we can learn to be present during these moments, we unlock the secret to happiness. Marcus Aurelius wasn't suggesting that we should ignore our goals or stop planning for the future. Instead, he was teaching us that the only place we can find peace, joy, and fulfillment is in the now. This simple shift, bringing your awareness back to the present, can transform even the most ordinary experiences into something profound. How to live in the present. It's not enough to just understand this concept intellectually. We have to practice it. The next time you find your mind wandering into stress or worry, stop and take a deep breath. Focus on what's right in front of you. If you're eating, focus on the taste and texture of the food. If you're talking to someone, really listen to them without thinking of your next response. This is the gift of the present moment. It gives you life's most precious treasure: peace of mind. Lesson 3. The dichotomy of control. What you can and cannot change. One of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy, which Marcus Aurelius emphasized repeatedly, is understanding what you can control and what you cannot. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about how much time we spend worrying about things that are completely beyond our control. Other people's opinions, the weather, global events, traffic, and countless other external factors. We waste so much energy trying to control the uncontrollable, and in doing so, we rob ourselves of the peace we could be cultivating. Marcus Aurelius and the dichotomy of control. Marcus Aurelius ruled during a time of wars, plagues, and political instability. He could not control the outcome of battles or the spread of disease, but what he could control was his own mind, his thoughts, his actions, his responses. And in focusing on what was within his control, he found a profound sense of freedom. This is one of the most liberating teachings of Stoicism. When you realize that there are things beyond your control, and you stop wasting your energy on them, you can redirect that energy into things you can control: your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions. This is where your true power lies. Imagine this. You wake up to an email with bad news. A project you were working on got canceled. The immediate reaction might be stress or frustration. But instead of focusing on the cancellation, something outside of your control, you shift your mindset. What can I control in this situation? You can control your attitude, your next actions, and how you choose to move forward. In doing so, you take back your power. You don't waste energy fighting what's already happened. You use that energy to move forward. The power of letting go. Here's a real-world example. Consider a professional athlete. Every athlete wants to win, but winning is not entirely in their control. They cannot control their opponent's performance, the referee's calls, or the weather on game day. What they can control is their own preparation, their mindset, and how they perform during the game. By focusing only on what they can control, they free themselves from the stress of worrying about the outcome. They play their best, and whatever happens, happens. This mindset doesn't just apply to athletes, it applies to all of us. Whether in your career, relationships, or personal life, focusing on what you can control allows you to let go of unnecessary stress. You'll find a sense of inner peace and strength because your happiness is no longer tied to external outcomes. Focus on what you can control. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel stressed, pause and ask yourself two simple questions. What is within my control? What is outside of my control? Focus only on what you can influence. If it's outside of your control, let it go. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're choosing to focus your energy on things that can actually make a difference in your life. The more you practice this, the more you'll realize how much peace you can create for yourself simply by letting go of the things you cannot control. Lesson 4. The Art of Perspective. Changing how you see the world. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the power of perspective. He knew that events themselves aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we perceive them that determines our experience of life. He wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." This idea, that our perception shapes our reality, is incredibly powerful. It means that no matter what happens to you, it's your interpretation of events that determines your emotional response. And the best part? You can control your perspective. You can choose how you interpret and respond to life's challenges. The power of perspective, reframing challenges. Consider this example. Let's say you miss out on a promotion at work. You could see this as a failure and let it discourage you. Or you could reframe it as an opportunity. Perhaps now you have more time to develop new skills. Or maybe this opens the door for an even better opportunity down the road. This isn't about blind optimism or ignoring difficulties. It's about seeing challenges for what they really are. Opportunities for growth and learning. Marcus Aurelius faced enormous challenges, but he constantly reminded himself that he could choose how to see them. He could let them defeat him, or he could use them as fuel to become stronger. A wise philosopher's perspective. There's a famous story about the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. One day, his leg was broken by his master, as he was still a slave at the time. Instead of responding with anger or despair, Epictetus calmly said, "I warned you that it would break." He had trained his mind to accept that physical injury was outside his control, and because of this, he didn't let the injury disturb his inner peace. This story might seem extreme, but it illustrates a profound truth. You can choose your perspective in any situation. Whether it's a broken leg, a broken relationship, or a setback at work, your inner peace is only disturbed when you allow it to be. How to change your perspective. Here's an exercise you can start practicing right now. The next time you face a difficulty, stop and ask yourself, what's another way I could see this situation? How could this challenge be an opportunity for growth? By reframing your perspective, you'll discover that even life's toughest moments hold valuable lessons and opportunities. You'll become more resilient, more adaptable, and ultimately, happier. Lesson 5. Living with purpose. Aligning your actions with your highest values. For Marcus Aurelius, living with purpose was essential to finding happiness. He believed that each of us has a unique role to play in the world, and that our fulfillment comes from aligning our actions with our highest values and principles. He wrote, "People who love what they do wear themselves down doing it. They even forget to wash or eat." This idea is timeless. We're happiest when we're living in alignment with our true purpose, when we're doing work that matters to us, and when our actions reflect our core values. The importance of purpose. Finding meaning in every day. In our modern world, it's easy to get caught up in the grind, going through the motions without a clear sense of purpose. But without purpose, even the most successful life can feel empty. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. He was the most powerful man in the world, but he constantly reminded himself to stay grounded in his values and to act with integrity in everything he did. Purpose isn't just about career. It's about how you choose to live every day. It's about asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? And then making decisions that align with that vision. For Marcus, his purpose was to serve others and to act in accordance with reason, kindness, and justice. His role as emperor was a means to fulfill that purpose, but it wasn't the purpose itself. This is a key insight. Your purpose isn't tied to your job title or status. It's tied to how you choose to live your life. Viktor Frankl's purpose in the face of adversity. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote extensively about the importance of purpose in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Even in the darkest circumstances, Frankl discovered that those who had a sense of purpose, whether it was reuniting with a loved one or completing a meaningful project, were far more resilient. Purpose gave them the strength to endure unimaginable suffering. This reinforces Marcus Aurelius's belief that purpose is not about external achievements. It's about having a clear sense of why you're doing what you're doing. And when you live with purpose, you become unstoppable. Life's obstacles don't deter you, they fuel you. How to discover and live with purpose. To live with purpose, start by asking yourself these 3 questions. What are my core values? What principles are most important to you? What unique gifts do I bring to the world? What are you passionate about? What skills or talents do you have that can benefit others? How can I use these gifts in service of something greater than myself? How can you make a positive impact on the world, no matter how small? Once you've answered these questions, start aligning your daily actions with your purpose. Living with purpose isn't just about the big, life-changing moments. It's about how you approach the small, everyday decisions. It's about choosing to act with integrity when no one's watching, helping others when you have the chance, and staying true to your values, even when it's difficult. Imagine how different your life would feel if every action, no matter how mundane, was aligned with your core values. You'd experience a deep sense of fulfillment and happiness, not because of external rewards, but because you're living in harmony with your true self. Lesson 6. Virtue as the highest good, the foundation of Stoic happiness. Marcus Aurelius believed that true happiness comes from living a virtuous life. For the Stoics, virtue wasn't just a set of moral guidelines. It was the very foundation of a fulfilling life. Virtue, according to Marcus, is about living in accordance with reason and nature. It's about being just, brave, temperate, and wise in everything you do. Marcus Aurelius on virtue. In Meditations, Marcus wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This simple statement encapsulates the essence of Stoic virtue. It's about aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with what is right and just, regardless of external circumstances or pressures. Virtue is the one thing we always have control over. No matter what life throws at us, whether we face loss, hardship, or injustice, we can always choose to act virtuously. And it's this commitment to virtue that leads to a deeper, more lasting happiness than any external success or pleasure could ever offer. The 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism. To truly understand how Marcus Aurelius viewed happiness, we must look at the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues weren't just ideals to aspire to, they were practical tools for living a fulfilled life. Wisdom, the ability to make sound judgments and decisions. Wisdom comes from understanding the nature of things and knowing how to apply that understanding in everyday life. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of seeking wisdom in all things by reflecting on your actions, learning from your experiences, and being open to growth. Courage, not just physical bravery, but moral courage, the strength to do what is right, even when it's difficult. Marcus faced countless challenges as emperor, but he always sought to act with courage, knowing that true happiness lies in doing what is right, not what is easy. Justice, the commitment to fairness, honesty, and integrity in all dealings with others. Marcus Aurelius was known for his fair and just rule, and he believed that treating others with kindness and respect was a fundamental part of living a virtuous life. Temperance, the ability to practice self-control and moderation. In a world that often encourages excess, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself and others of the importance of temperance, of finding balance and not being swayed by extremes of pleasure or pain. Virtue in action. Let's bring this concept of virtue into a modern context. Imagine you're at work and you notice a colleague struggling with a project. You could ignore it. It's not your responsibility after all. Or you could step in and offer your help. The virtuous choice, according to Marcus Aurelius, would be to help. Not because you expect a reward, but because it's the right thing to do. Virtue is about doing what's right, even when no one's watching, even when there's no immediate benefit to you. It's about living in a way that aligns with your highest values, day in and day out. And when you live this way, something incredible happens. You start to experience a deep inner contentment that external rewards can't match. How to live a virtuous life. Living a virtuous life doesn't require grand gestures. It's about making small, consistent choices that align with your values. Here's a simple exercise to help you practice virtue in your daily life. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on your actions. Ask yourself, did I act with wisdom today? Did I show courage when it was needed? Was I fair and just in my dealings with others? Did I practice self-control and moderation? By reflecting on these questions, you'll start to notice areas where you can improve and grow. And over time, you'll find that living in alignment with these virtues brings you a deep sense of fulfillment and happiness. Lesson 7. The role of service, finding happiness through helping others. For Marcus Aurelius, happiness wasn't something to be pursued for its own sake. It was a natural byproduct of living in service to others. He believed that we are all part of a greater whole, and that our greatest joy comes from contributing to the well-being of others. In Meditations, he wrote, "What is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee." This simple metaphor speaks to a profound truth. We are interconnected, and our happiness is tied to the happiness of others. Marcus Aurelius and the importance of service. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius saw his role as one of service. He didn't rule for personal gain or glory. He ruled to serve the people of Rome. His leadership was grounded in humility, compassion, and a deep sense of responsibility to those he governed. This commitment to service wasn't just a political stance. It was a central tenet of his philosophy. Marcus believed that by helping others, we fulfill our highest potential as human beings. And in doing so, we find true happiness. The science of service. Why helping others makes us happier. Modern research supports Marcus Aurelius's belief in the power of service. Studies have shown that helping others activates the brain's reward centers, releasing feel-good chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. Acts of kindness not only make others feel good, they make us feel good too. But more than that, service gives our lives meaning. When we contribute to the well-being of others, we feel a sense of purpose and connection that goes beyond our individual desires. We become part of something greater than ourselves. The ripple effect of kindness. Consider the simple act of holding the door open for someone. It's a small gesture, but it can brighten that person's day. And that positive energy has a ripple effect. When people experience kindness, they're more likely to pass it on to others. This is how service creates a chain reaction of happiness. Marcus Aurelius understood this ripple effect. He knew that by serving others, we not only improve their lives, we improve our own. And in a world that often feels divided and disconnected, acts of service are a powerful way to bridge the gap and bring people together. How to cultivate a spirit of service. You don't need to be an emperor to live a life of service. Here are a few simple ways you can start serving others today. Look for opportunities to help. Whether it's lending a hand to a colleague, volunteering in your community, or simply being there for a friend in need, there are countless ways to serve others every day. Practice random acts of kindness. Small acts of kindness, like buying a coffee for a stranger or leaving a positive note for a coworker, can have a big impact. Listen with compassion. Sometimes the best way to serve others is by simply being present and listening to them. Offering a listening ear can be a profound act of service. As you incorporate service into your daily life, you'll find that it brings you a deep sense of fulfillment and happiness. You'll start to see that by lifting others, you're also lifting yourself. The path to true happiness. Marcus Aurelius's secret to happiness wasn't a hidden formula or a quick fix. It was a way of life. Through his teachings, we've learned that true happiness comes not from external success or fleeting pleasures, but from within. It comes from living in alignment with our highest values, embracing the present moment, practicing virtue, and serving others. These timeless lessons are just as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. And the best part? You don't need to be an emperor to apply them to your life. By following Marcus's example, you can cultivate a deep, lasting happiness that transcends the ups and downs of life. How will you embrace Marcus Aurelius's secret to happiness? Now that you've uncovered the secret to happiness, it's time to put it into practice. How will you start living with purpose, practicing virtue, and embracing the present moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you're applying these lessons to your own life. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos on philosophy and self-improvement. Together, we can continue this journey toward a more fulfilling, meaningful life. Stay tuned for more insights from the great Stoic philosophers. And remember, the power to be happy is within you. All you have to do is choose it.